Choosing your profession. There are two very distinct career tracks when working with Oracle databases, either as an administrator or a developer. Administration does the task of maintaining existing databases, and development or developers perform the task of developing new things for databases or building new databases. Some people can do both tasks, but it's risky, even for the most capable, for the simple reason that there are two different approaches to how you actually work. Why? Because administration is slow and methodical and very detail-oriented, and development is fast and productive and highly creative, and it is not particularly detail-oriented. It is a lot of out-of-the-box thinking to come up with new ideas. In detail, administration maintains things, as I already said. As an administrator, you would maintain an existing database. You change nothing that is non-essential. In other words, if something isn't broken, you don't try to fix it. You only fix something when it actually stops working. As I said, it's very detail-oriented. You have to make sure that your database is up and running 100% at the time. Otherwise, the customers of the database are not being serviced. And if they happen to be people buying and selling stuff on eBay, they're going to get very upset very quickly. So your sole purpose as a database administrator is to keep the database running no matter what. Sometimes regardless of usefulness. Now this shouldn't be taken literally 100% as usefulness. What it means essentially is that when developers try to introduce changes, the administrators, maintainers or production DBAs should to a certain extent get in the way of any potential changes and be the gatekeepers for the database to make sure that changes are not introduced to an environment that actually make it crash or make it perform or malfunction in a way that's not useful. Back to development again. Developers build things, they create stuff, they can be detail oriented but not necessarily because they think out of the box to come up with new ideas. It's completely contrary to the detail-oriented approach of administration. As I said, developers are not detail-oriented. They tend to think more abstractly than maintainers or administrators do. That's their task. They think out of the box, new ideas. The primary purpose of an environment, such as a database or an application, for development-type people is usability. In other words, they won't think twice about adding new functionality to an environment, regardless of whether the database actually is going to crash or not. Well, they will think twice about it, but they're not as careful as the administration people are. To a certain extent, sometimes developers will think that operations or the maintenance of a database or the administration of it is a production problem. In other words, developers could introduce changes that cause the database in production to crash, and it's kind of like the production people have to fix it, and it's not necessarily the right way to go about it. You've got to work together, or have management basically making development and production people work together to produce a usable environment that is up and running as much as possible. In other words, you don't want developers and administrators working against each other. The downside of developers having complete control over a database is that no changes are ever introduced, and therefore you have no development and no improvement. The key factor is to basically develop very slowly and carefully and implement in stages through test environments till the point where the administrators get to it and they make the changes and they're absolutely sure it's going to work. Then again, the administrators are there in place to fix things if it doesn't work.